There he is, Supercross champ. Chase Sexton wins in Denver to stamp his authority on this Monster Energy AMA 450 championship. Jet Lawrence wins Moto 1. The perfect season continues. 21 for 21. One down. One to go. Perfect season for Jet Lawrence. 22-0. Jet Lawrence has done it and is the inaugural SMX World Champion.
Yeah, welcome to the season in review for the 2023 SMX season. That includes Monster Energy, AMA Supercross, and the Pro Motocross Championship, and the 3 new SMX playoff rounds. It's SMX Insider with the Jasons, Wygan, and Thomas here. This is going to be difficult, JT, because so much happened this season. If you think about Eli Tomac and how great he was at the beginning, to Jet Lawrence and how great he was at the end, it's really hard to encapsulate really a pretty wild season into one episode.
Yeah, 31 rounds of racing across 3 different unique championships is a lot to try to summarize, but that's great. We had a lot of parity. Not one person won everything, so that across both classes, very interesting series. Some new stars emerged. I think we're getting a little bit of a taste of what's to come over the next 5 years or so, but still, the old guard is still relevant. Eli Tomac was such a force until his injury there with the Achilles. 2024 is setting up to be a true clash of young and old, I think.
Yeah, it's really funny to think of the in-depth analysis that we'd have here every week, and not just this show, all over this sport, on certain things that seem so important in the moment, and then 5 months later, you can't even remember that happened. So we're going to remind you here with this episode, Season Review, SMX Insider. 30-second board time. We're going to attempt to encapsulate an entire racing season into one. I just love the fact that we were back at the LA Coliseum to end this, because we were both sitting there, part of the press conference when we announced it last October. So that's how it started, in the same exact spot. The press conference was literally in the exact same spot.
Yeah, I was sitting in the audience with so many questions that I don't know that everybody had the answer to. There was a plan, of course, but to execute that and to really have this play out as well as it did, I think it's a testament to all of the effort put in. But I think we got lucky too, to have the points go the way they did and have the parity in both classes with such a fantastic setup. You think about the weather, we just had phenomenal weather all the way through really the entire series. Just so many things fell into place. And if you'd asked me last October if it was going to go that well, I would have probably laughed, because it just seemed like exactly how you would have wanted it to set up. It went just that way.
Yeah, I remember hosting that press conference. We announced that every race would be live on Peacock and the SuperMotocross Video Pass, and that got a roaring ovation. And I feel like everything else we said was just confusion. Like, what? A playoff? Triple points? What are these tracks? How's it going to work? We definitely got to flush all those things out once we actually went racing and explained it. It was awesome when it actually happened in the moment. It should be good next year as well. We're going to start our review here with the 250 class. It's been an amazing season. Let's see if we can just get you hyped up with all the highs and lows throughout this year.
First time for the 250s. Drop the gate. Jet Lawrence wins A1.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Hunter Lawrence is the 250 East champion.
Jet Lawrence is the 250 West champion.
And the season's underway outdoors.
Checkered flag, Levi Kitchen on the out. RJ Hampshire wins. Hayden Deegan has won the first ever moto in the SMX Championship. Shimoda takes the lead. The first ever winner of an SMX 250 race by taking Charlotte. Hunter Lawrence, your championship leader, coming into our final race in Los Angeles.
Okay, yeah, it was dynamic. Obviously, the big topic of the 250 class was mostly Lawrence brothers sweeping both Supercross titles, and then Hunter winning the motocross campaign, Hayden Deegan winning the SMX title. But individual of that, there were so many other great things that happened throughout the year. Hayden Deegan's SMX title was big, JT, but I think there might have been more attention on that crazy heat race. Was that Detroit, if I remember right, with he and Jordan Smith? That was a hot topic.
Yeah, and for Hayden, I was really concerned that things were going to spiral the wrong direction, right? There was this narrative, and there's so much talk amongst the media, amongst the fans about just the way he interacted with a teammate, the comments he made on the backside of that in the press conference. But to his credit, he was able to quiet the noise, stay out of trouble really from there. He has not had really any other incident or any other negative press since then. So great job by him by recovering, being able to just accept that it wasn't the best night and move forward. And you just think about, where he's gone from then. He was an absolute force all the way through the Pro Motocross Championship. Really, I think, established himself. And then, he's also your Super Motocross World Champion there at the end of September as well.
Yeah, we were also wondering when Hayden turned pro, the attention that already was on him because he's so successful on YouTube. What would that be like? What did the spotlight look like? Well, we did see his every move was analyzed at a much higher degree than probably any other rookie has ever been because of that. I mean, there were literally people, I believe, going to these races just because of him. We've seen big talents come in. I don't know if we've seen anything quite like that before. So that was a fun dynamic to watch. RJ being RJ, we could pick probably a dozen examples of RJ Hampshire just going for it. But probably the best one is a last-ditch title attempt in the mud here in New Jersey.
Yeah, RJ Hampshire is all effort, all heart, all the time, right? And I think it is his best asset, and it's also sometimes his biggest weakness because I think he pushes too hard. He doesn't always know where the limit is. But yeah, that move to try to make a last corner pass at New Jersey, I think he got him in a little bit of hot water because I think it was a little bit careless, but it's also just indicative of who he is. He gives us some of the most spectacular passes and moments, but he also gives us times where we shake our head too. And just thinking about Motocross of Nations, I'm going to go in hoping he gives us all the good things and not the bad things. But as we know, again, RJ is RJ.
Race of the year in the 250 Supercross division, I think it's got to go to Tampa and the last lap charge and last turn pass here by Hunter Lawrence over Nate Thrasher.
Yeah, this was Hunter. You know, he did this so many times, and he would make passes whether he needed to be aggressive or not. He just seemed like he always had the answer when he needed one. And this was really the breakout year for Hunter. I mean, he's been good, he's been solid, he's had some wins here and there, but to be this consistent, and I think he really asserted himself as the guy in the 250 class. You know, every single weekend, regardless of who you were thinking about Hunter first. And I think that was a new dynamic for Hunter Lawrence. I don't think he's ever been in that position. As soon as his brother exited the 250s, Hunter jumped into that spotlight and took over the reins of that class. And on the backside, we'll see who takes over, but this was certainly the year of Hunter Lawrence.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was the best rider in the 250 division if you average it all out from beginning to end, no doubt, even though Deegan got that SMX title. But I don't think people had expected Deegan to maybe be Hunter Lawrence's chief competitor throughout the year, but he ended up second in the Monster Energy Supercross 250E standings. But at Redbud, when he finally got his first pro win and Hunter had a bad race, this was huge to really establish that he's not hype. He's not just a YouTube guy. He is for real as a racer.
Yeah, I saw some belief in Hayden Deegan for one of the first times because I think he was trying to sort this out, find his place in this 250 class. You know, he came in Supercross, he was a top 10 guy, but we didn't really think he could go win and be a championship contender. But then at Redbud, things went his way. Hunter Lawrence had a crash. Hayden wins for the first time, and I could see it unfolding in his mind as like, okay, I can do this. I can be this person in this class amongst these riders that have more experience or older. But I think he felt capable in that moment, and that was really the turning point for me in Hayden's career, and the rest is going to be history with him, as it already is. He's your inaugural 250 world, Super Motocross world champion.
Yeah, and then Hunter arrives. It's a totally different way of doing it. Hayden talks about sending it all the time. You got to see Hunter a lot after these races, the emotion coming off the track. There wasn't much. And I asked him about it in the press conference before the LA finale, and he said that is a learned trait. He used to be super emotional like most athletes, but he learned for his own benefit, you've got to turn that off and approach it from an analytical standpoint instead of an emotional standpoint. And JT, you can speak to this. When he pulled the helmet off, he was all business all the time.
Yeah, and there's a there's a parable that we're all destined to turn into our parents. And for Hunter, it seems like he is adopting many of the things we see from his father, Darren, as we all know, as Dazzy Lawrence. You're not going to get much from him, right? He's going to tell you what he's thinking, but there's no emotion behind it. It's all analytics. It's all well thought out, well in advance. And I think that is where Hunter is gravitating towards. He's learning from his father and becoming many, he's just utilizing. That's a strength for Dazzy's. I think he thinks about things and he doesn't let emotion cloud his judgment. And I think you're seeing that in Hunter as he gets older.
Let's get into our 450 review. Again, a wild season when you think of how it started and where it is now.
The inaugural season of the SuperMotocross World Championship. Welcome back, Ken Roczen! Jed Lawrence goes 1-1 in his 450 debut. No! Chase Sexton taking the 450 title. Lawrence versus Sexton. Tarmac wins A1. He is injured. Jed Lawrence wins the overall.
So much to talk about there. So much of Supercross, JT, was talking about Eli Tomac and making history, moving into second all time, and also doing this at for motocross purposes, a very advanced age with a bunch of kids at home. We don't want to forget, even though he doesn't have the title, we don't want to forget how important Eli Tomac was to the 2023 story.
Well, I think about Anaheim 1, he's winning, he crashes, then he comes back after the crash, and it doesn't feel like that was this year. I was thinking, like, what season was it? Oh, it was this season. It was 2023. But there's been so much racing and so many twists and turns throughout this 2023 campaign. But yes, to your point, Eli Tomac was absolutely phenomenal. I think many people even said this was the best Eli Tomac we've seen, like the most dominant at times we've seen. And at his age, we weren't even sure if he was going to race in 2024. I think it speaks volumes to the longevity and the dedication to his craft to still be this relevant and this impressive.
So Tomac making history is great, and it wasn't quite on the same level because he wasn't en route to a Supercross championship, but I do feel like Ken Roczen's renaissance this year with his old brand on board Suzuki, that might have been the feel-good story of the year when he got that victory at Indianapolis.
Yeah, if you weren't smiling and cheering when Ken Roczen stood on the podium and held up that Kickstarter, you may want to check and see if you have a pulse. It was an incredible night. Maybe the only person that wasn't excited for him was Justin Barcia, who came so close to winning that main event as well. But to have Kenny back, I would argue he's been the most marketable rider in the sport for a very long time. And he's had a little bit of a rough go lately, but that was a bounce back race there that night and a bounce back SuperMotocross World Championship playoff too. And I think he let everybody know that he's not ready to ride off into the sunset yet. Ken Roczen is still for real.
Yeah, and you reminded me, Barcia didn't get the win that night. He was so close, but he got his as well. The mud race in New Jersey, that was an epic night just because of the weather. And again, veterans succeeding. Kind of funny how this season turned out where we had both rookies and established veterans all having some really memorable runs. The AP's heartbreak topic that you see here, this is actually twofold. Everyone remembers the night that Aaron Plessinger was just rolling away from everyone and it looked like a victory was on lock until he crashed at the end. And I got another story to back that up after, but this is the problem. When Aaron Plessinger crashed, you got the interview with him and he was planning on, well, I'm going to go to Seattle next week and get this done. The season's over. He still doesn't have one of these 450 wins.
Yeah, it's certainly a moment I'll never forget. I can remember him riding towards me after, he looked like he was on his way to his first win. Tragedy strikes, and I'm hoping that he'll just spend a moment with me and share his emotion with America and the rest of the world. And then he, of course, gives us one of the most powerful interviews of the year, maybe of the sport's history.
That one hurts. That one hurts a lot. Man, I was riding so good, and I don't know. I didn't stand up in that rut the whole moto and sat down and put my foot out. And the one time I think it's all right to stand up, it catches my foot and rips me right off the bike. And oh man, I couldn't believe it flying through the air like that. And I just tried to tuck and I don't know, man. It was a hard hit. I tried to get back up and man, the bike was smoking and I probably could have finished, but man, that hurts. But get back up on the saddle and get back up there at Seattle. I love Seattle, so man, don't count me out. I'm not done yet. Man, I was riding so good. I'm so proud of my riding, and I love these fans, man. I could hear them the whole way, and man, Chase is riding a great race, but it happens, and I'd like to say a lot of other words, but I can't say them on TV. So we'll be back with a vengeance. Starts are good, I'm good, fitness is good. I just got to stay on the bike next time.
It was just a peek inside to the highs and lows. He certainly thought he was on his way to win, and then that was robbed of him. And for him to not hold back, to truly show what was going on in his mind and his heart, it's just something I'll never forget. I felt very proud and privileged to be a part of it. And yeah, I think there's so much, everybody just thinks it's glitz and glamour and this crazy lifestyle that these Supercross racers have, but they truly live and die with the successes and the failures of a season, and never more so than Aaron Plessinger there in Detroit.
Yeah, and because that one was so high profile, and then Tomac going out with the ruptured Achilles while leading Supercross, I think it overshadowed the one other story I want to get in here. Cooper Webb was second in points ahead of Chase Sexton. Also, it was a rough afternoon in Nashville for a lot of the top Monster Energy Supercross racers. I think it's completely forgotten about. Cooper Webb could have easily been the Supercross champion this year as well. It was heartbreak for him.
Yeah, for Webb, that crash in Nashville was scary for one. We were all concerned with his health. And then once you realize maybe he's going to be okay, you start thinking about the championship that just went away, right? And it was a three-man fight going into that Nashville round. There was so much hype. And then all of a sudden, one of those riders was removed because we knew he wasn't going to be able to race Nashville. And then, Cooper Webb, the rest of Cooper Webb's 2023 was pretty wild, right? He's not going to race the Pro Motocross Championship. Then he is going to race the Pro Motocross Championship. He makes it a few rounds in, then departs. Then we hear he's cut ties with Red Bull KTM. He's going to switch teams. So, yeah, Cooper Webb's season in itself could be a multi-chapter book. And now I just think about what 2024 is going to look like. I don't think this Super Motocross World Championship went really to plan for him, but I think he learned a lot and is going to gain a lot of motivation from some of the poorer results he had, especially at rounds 1 and 2.
So with Tomac and Webb going out in Supercross, the break that Honda was not able to get for just about 20 years, suddenly it all falls into place for Chase Sexton to win that Monster Energy Supercross title. Honda's first in that class since 2003. They had not won a 450 title at all since 2004 when Ricky Carmichael won the Pro Motocross Championship. It's unbelievable. The team that couldn't buy a break had both Webb and Tomac go out. It finally fell in Honda's direction.
It did, but the most interesting part of that to me is contrast the feeling that we had about Chase Sexton and his relationship with Honda HRC leaving Salt Lake City in May to how it looked and felt leaving Ironman, and then of course at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum a month later. Completely different scenarios, right? We look back and what a remarkable season Chase Sexton had in Monster Energy Supercross. He wins his first 450 championship. And then now all of that feels like a distant memory. Chase Sexton's departing to another team. The relationship really seemed to break down between he and his team. And I know he was unhappy with some of the bike settings. It is completely opposite ends of the spectrum from where we were. It just felt like that everything was in front of it, Chase Sexton. And now it looks like he's just kind of on the back end trying to sort things out as we go into 2024.
Well, there was always this specter of, it appeared that Sexton was the present, but what about the future when Jet Lawrence moves to a 450, working out of the same truck? They definitely kept it cordial from a personal and personality standpoint, but so much of everything got overshadowed by Jet Lawrence going perfect in his rookie 450 season, 22-0, and with Sexton finishing second in the majority of those races. I never thought that we would get to the point, JT, where we would have another rider in that McGrath, Stewart, Carmichael type conversation. But 22-0 as a rookie, it's impossible to not think of Jet Lawrence maybe being in those types of conversations going forward?
I think it's warranted. I really do. His Pro Motocross Championship, he's won 5 championships in a row. Then you add in the Super Motocross World Championship on top of that. And I think for everybody, the last kind of caveat you could add was, well, we haven't really seen him race on a 450 in Supercross yet. So let's see what that looks like. And then he did what he did at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum on a typical Supercross environment. Sure, there weren't whoops there, but go back and watch Jet Lawrence on a 250 in the whoops, and I think that will set your mind at ease. I think he's just answering every single question. Can he win from the front? Can he get a bad start and still win? Can he handle championship pressure when the lights are at their brightest? Can he still rise to the occasion? He's doing it all. There just doesn't seem to be any holes in his game, and it's still really, really early. We know that. He still hasn't lined up on a 450 at Anaheim 1 yet. But everybody, to a man, even Chase Sexton, who will be a reigning champion going in, have to be so incredibly nervous about the run that it seems like Jet Lawrence is just embarking upon.
Really such a big story of 2023 should be the team switches, the silly season and off-season maneuvers, but they haven't been announced yet. But let's just put it this way. We know that Sexton will not return to Honda for 2024. That'll be a big story going forward. In the present time, the story is Honda, again, couldn't get a break, couldn't get any 450 title at all for 20 years. And then this year they win every traditional title that's available. No team has won these particular championships all in the same year. We'll talk about Sexton and his future later, but right now it was all about Honda. Hunter crashed out of SMX. That's the only one they didn't get, but to win all the Supercross and Pro Motocross titles in the same year. Never done before like this. Unreal.
Yeah, I got to speak with Lars Lindstrom just for a second. After everything had quieted down, he was headed to the press conference, and I was like, congratulations, what a year. After so long, so much famine, now it was feast here in 2023. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, but man, that 250, this 250 championship we lost out. I'm like, no, just stop. Because if anybody had told you a year ago, 5 years ago, that things were going to go this way in 2023, you would have done anything to have this much success. So forget about tonight. Hunter's going to be okay. In the big picture, he's going to be fine. He won two championships already this year. Just enjoy this. Stop thinking about the what if and just enjoy the success that's all around you right now.
It was a really great season for Honda, yet you can't let that little Hunter hiccup there in the last race of the year take away from that. But it did open the door for Hayden Deegan to be your SMX champion as a rookie. You want to think back to last October. Think about this. We didn't even know if Hayden Deegan would be racing in these races. Unbelievable that he ended up champion, and same thing for Jet Lawrence. We thought he'd be certainly fun to watch and a potential 450 contender, but we ended up with 2 rookie champs, JT.
If you're writing scripts for this of how to set up the sport for success on the long term, having these 2 stars that are so charismatic, they are beautiful to watch on a motorcycle. They know how to handle themselves in the media, and they're attracting fans globally, right? Whether it's through social media, whether it's Jet Lawrence's being Australian, but he's also raced in Europe. So he has this huge global audience that not many riders have. It's perfect. They're so young, they're so talented, and they're going to be around for a very, very long time, and they're already champions. I just don't know how you could have a better setup moving forward.
Okay, now that the season is complete, we will stay with you throughout what is called the off-season, a couple of key episodes that will tell you about the week of November 2nd. We will have our silly season episode and look forward to 2024 for the first time. There's going to be lots of team switches, and we will be breaking those down. December 7th, we will air from Supercross Media Days, which is a week long of activities at Angel Stadium for the top riders. We'll have interviews, analysis, riders in their new look. It'll be really cool. And then our 2024 full season preview on December 21st. And then weekly shows resume when the racing begins, January 4th. Looking forward to it, JT. Yes, it is a short off season. I think everyone wants a break, but at the same time, this is all we do. So we tend to get bored if we go too long.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'll be heading over to Motocross of Nations, and then, we'll have a little break where riders will be testing and breaking in their new motorcycles, and then they'll tell us all about it, hopefully, at Media Days. But I just know how this goes. I've been around this sport my entire life. And we're going to wake up one morning and be sitting in Anaheim, California, and wonder where the off season went. But we're lucky to have such a great sport, and it won't feel like we're back at work. It's, the anticipation's coming, and we're all going to be excited, and it's going to be go time once again.
Yes, and speaking of that Motocross of Nations, we will have a special extra episode with a little bit of MXON preview with myself and JT on this very same channel, as well as we head toward the off season. So November 2nd will be our next full episode of SMX Insider. We'll see you throughout the off season when news breaks.